Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Hello, education lovers. Welcome to the program. I'm Ryan Corella here. So thrilled to have you joining us on this installment of Big Ideas in Education. We're talking about teacher staffing this week. Creating sustainable solutions for our education workforce is one of the most significant challenges facing the K-12 sector. Our guest is Nicola Soares, the president of Kelly Education, the country's largest education staffing provider. Nicola is a sought-after voice on the subject of education staffing policy and has advanced a wide range of potential solutions to address educator shortages and other workforce challenges facing our schools. Nicola, thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me. I really was looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. I need to talk to an expert on this topic. I have so many questions, and I'd love to talk with somebody who's on the front lines of this. Teacher shortages have been a hot topic in education, particularly since the pandemic, where a lot of these underlying problems became even more significant in the last few years. And I'm curious, now that we've had sort of 3, 4, 5 years to kind of experience this really heightened teacher shortage problem, are we seeing any positive developments in addressing teacher shortages in the last few years? Any success stories?
Yeah, I think so. We still have just a crushing demand, as I would call it, but I do think that there are some silver linings. I think that our public school districts, our charter schools, independent parochial schools, you name it, have become extremely innovative just because of the sheer demand. So just a couple of examples. We have seen just a huge increase on the implementation of your kind of grow your own programs. And what I mean by that is where local communities, school districts, or maybe their, smaller individual schools have sort of created their own kind of certification programs where maybe they give sort of a learn, earn sort of the experience within the schools, but also pathways to certification. We've seen sort of the increase on alternative certification programs where those organizations have state licensure. So if someone, as an example, has a 4-year degree, they can actually do sort of a short certification program that kind of gives them that teacher management experience with the additional certification in order to take a full-time teaching sort of position. Then also something that's really popular that we're seeing sort of public and private partnerships, where you see public school districts where they're partnering with the private sector, say. So maybe they're giving teachers like internship opportunities like in the summer just to kind of increase their domain expertise. So I'm very encouraged with what I see. Also, I think even our local community colleges, are also sort of putting a little bit more rigor around their own programs in terms of teacher certification programs and working really closely with their local schools and school districts in order to make that learning experience, especially with student teaching, to be stickier. Also, just to make sure that those partnerships are even closer. So no doubt, we still have a massive teacher shortage, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of innovative programming.
And I imagine that you're speaking a lot with principals who have to engage this problem in real time on the front lines. And I'm curious, when you have conversations with these people, what are they telling you is the biggest inhibitor for them in trying to create a sustainable workforce? Is it a recruitment problem? Is it a retention problem? What factors are coming into play here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ryan. So I would tell you principals are consistently saying they see burnout, right, with their workforce. And they're looking for creative ways that they can kind of help that in that regard. Also, workloads, are overwhelming. So, as we see teachers leaving in the middle of their profession, a lot of the existing, workforce that's still there, are adding, additional, class periods or what have you, or if there are teachers that are absent that day, they're having to, cover classrooms. And I would say for the most part, principals are just saying, they don't have enough support. So especially when those teachers are pulled in multiple directions. So I would say, they're definitely focused on the issue and definitely seeking solutions that are going to help just to take away that workload that we've talked about.
And if the problem is burnout and the problem is master teachers, veteran teachers leaving the schools and causing teachers that are more inexperienced to have to take on more load than they usually would handle, how much of this problem is solved by us, for lack of a better term, throwing more money at it, whether it's paying our professionals more, sorry, or
Yeah.
it's just creating additional funding mechanisms in the schools, maybe funding things like the actual degrees that teachers
Yeah.
need to get these things. How much of this is just the system needs more money?
Yeah. Well, I mean, compensation is a major critical piece to this issue, right? But it's not the silver bullet. I would often say that, teachers, they are very purpose-driven professionals, so pay is one thing, obviously, but they're also looking for other things. So like the additional support that we talked about, obviously needs to be addressed. But there are other opportunities that we can provide our teachers, professional growth opportunities. It's not, the additional training that they are required to have, but things that can enhance, that inspire. So when I talked about, public-private sort of partnerships where we can give, sabbaticals or internships to teachers, that's going to improve engagement as well. Also benefits, right? Especially around wellness. Anything that, school communities can do to provide that for their teachers. We're seeing PTAs, PTOs, if you will, who are often, focused on not just, Teacher Appreciation Day, but they're doing consistent things across the year as well. And then, of course, anything that we can do to kind of alleviate sort of that workload that teachers have. So, if it's more staff or if it's really being creative with scheduling, that's going to be really, really important as well.
And is there something that's going on with this issue that you think is a huge contributor to the teacher shortage, or perhaps could be a significant solution to the teacher shortage that you don't think policymakers are talking enough about right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we really need to assess the current state, right? What's the current, sort of engagement? And I think, with some of the data that, especially, sort of professional researchers are looking, at, or if that informs policy, I wonder, are we not looking at all of the data that we really, really need to look at? So, are we doing those regular pulse surveys? Are we thinking about the culture of schools? Are we thinking about, purpose, all the different kinds of support resources that are needed? What are teachers, what are they currently burdened with? Are we actually measuring all of that and the outcomes that we have? Focus has been on student test scores and, graduation rates. But, when I think about our head learners of the classroom, are we really kind of focused on that? And what can we do creatively that's going to really sort of sustain that kind of veteran workforce that we critically need? And I do think that there are other opportunities that we get our teachers involved with that they feel a great deal of satisfaction. So things like, creating mentorship opportunities that really allow them to also help and guide even first year teachers are coming or new people that are coming into the profession. So I think this issue is very addressable. I just think we need to look at the issue from different perspectives in order to have that really positive outcome that we're looking for.
I will say the creation of additional opportunities for veteran teachers is an important one from what I've experienced with my own education clients. And I've been pretty blown away by what I've seen some of the schools I work with do to address this very issue and to provide those opportunities, right? I work with a network of charter schools here in Florida, and a lot of these schools will work together to create those sort of opportunities where if you are a really terrific teacher, a master teacher at one school, they'll work with other schools to give you opportunities to go mentor teachers, not just on your own campus, but on other campus, to lead PD sessions, to do podcasts like this one, to write books, to do things that allow you to further explore your craft as an educator and to get the acknowledgement and the appreciation and the professionalization that you deserve. That's the kind of stuff that I think is not being done enough. As I'm agreeing with you on that, right? That could be one of those policy solutions that we're not exploring enough, that, not giving teachers not just the appreciation that they deserve in the classroom, but the opportunity to find more opportunities, to explore all the things that these professionals can do with the skills that they have.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
And so, I mean, is there anything else that we could be doing to keep those veteran teachers on the campus? Because to me, I think that's one of the most saddening things about this teacher shortage. It's every time I see an Instagram Reels video or a TikTok video where I see some teacher say, I've been in the classroom for 20 years. I've won Teacher of the Year 3 times. I've won awards for my teaching, and I'm done this year. I can't do it anymore. That breaks my heart because I can just, think of all the students that have missed out on that amazing teacher because we pushed that teacher too far. We broke that teacher, and now we all suffer. How do we keep that teacher from leaving, that 20-year master teacher who's won all the awards, who's fantastic, and we just burned him out?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, it's something, we obviously talk about it in the private sector, especially coming out of a human capital organization. But if it were me, I'm a superintendent or I'm a building principal, first thing I would do is prioritize well-being for teachers. And I know that kind of sounds a little, maybe Pollyanna, but I think it's so critical even now. So, teachers are consistently, overwhelmingly so stressed. And if we could introduce wellness programs or even mental health days, or, that could make a tangible difference. I talked a lot about sabbaticals too, being able to kind of take internships of different kinds of things that sort of recharge and rejuvenate the battery, so to speak. But I do think we have opportunities that can be, outside of the norm. Second, I would invest in professional development that's tailored to their needs. So not just being required and it's, reading literacy or mathematics, but it's really truly to the needs of the particular individual teachers. So it could be more sort of evolved leadership training or, something a little bit beyond subject matter certifications. I think many of our teachers would really thrive and enjoy and benefit by doing an internship in the summer, or maybe it's like in a semester in the private sector. So I don't know if you have a biology teacher, perhaps, they're working in a pharmaceutical company and they're really kind of shadowing and learning like the greatest, skills, but also understanding where the career is going to be in the future so that they take real life applications, bring it back into their classroom. What a great way to recharge.
Now, we should pay some mention to your company, Kelly Education, which for years has been a leader in helping schools through technology address some of their staffing challenges. Can you talk a little bit about what your company does in this area?
Yeah, so, being a workforce solutions provider, part of the benefit of partnering with an organization like us is really understanding the administrative burden that districts or schools go through every single day. It's really understanding and analyzing their data. So when we think about, what it takes to support and service any school on any given day, we have to really think about talent and labor in a different way. So an organization like ours can really bring what I would say like a talent supply chain into that, looking at different ways that is going to solve that administrative burden. So as an example, school secretaries trying to find staff or substitute teachers to cover for the day, that starts at 5 a.m. in the morning. Think about that. That is incredibly hard to do. If we're thinking about also, school nurses for special needs, like with, speech therapists or tutors, how do you source and recruit for that type of talent that is there consistently and is also an extended part of that faculty of the workforce, if you will, of an organization. So I always love, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. That's exactly right. And I think an organization like ours has the expertise to source, to recruit, to really understand what the needs are, and to be able to identify the right talent in the right moment to be able to really partner within that school or school district.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for the work that you do in this area. And thank you so much for the insight that you've provided on this really important topic. Before we let you go, though, we got one last question for you. If with the snap of your fingers, you could make any change to the education system, what change would it be?
Oh, that question for me, Ryan, is really easy. I would reimagine teaching as a sustainable, highly respected career path. I started my career as a teacher, and I'll tell you, I loved it. That means competitive pay, clear advancement opportunities, and a significant investment in teacher well-being. That's what my wish list would be if I had to reimagine teaching.
I love that perspective. I'm with you 1,000%. Nicola, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you, Ryan. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for checking out Big Ideas in Education.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.